high-powered. All right. Hello, everyone. How many of you have seen the Zach Galifianakis Between Two Ferns? I just noticed that I'm going to be between two ferns here, and I hope there are no expectations that that's how this is going to go. I will admit to a soft spot for Zach Galifianakis and that particular endeavor of his. I even wasted 2 hours almost watching his Between Two Ferns movie while my wife was on duty a couple weeks ago. So it's so nice to have you all here, and thank you for joining on a beautiful afternoon as we reach the end of what has been, from where I sit anyway, a really great weekend. And I know that at the end of this, you'll have an opportunity to watch children. Many of you will anyway, to watch your children out on the playing fields, and then I hope you'll have a chance to escape and to relax and enjoy their presence. It's time for everyone to take a nice deep breath. That goes for your kids, certainly. They've been working really hard in so many areas, and I think you've probably sensed that over the last couple days. And I'll say, too, that the faculty and staff are about ready for that same break. So we will all feel good in about 6 hours or so. Before I get started, I want to quickly thank two folks who were really helpful to me in putting this slide deck together, and that's Gary Dow, who's our Director of Communications, and Jordan Campaign, who works in the Communications Office. And we started talking about this, what this might involve, about a week ago, and they came up with all the brilliance you're going to see up here. So I had a few ideas, a few other folks had some ideas, and then they made the magic out of it, so I want to thank them. So we've been talking a lot at Pomfret about the student voice, and I hope again, that you're sensing from your conversations with your children's teachers and advisors, certainly if you were at the presentation or the dinner last night and the presentations afterwards, you can see, and I hope sense deeply, that allowing students at Pomfret to be heard, to find their voices in every domain, is something that we are keenly intent on continuing to develop. And so we have this Be Heard it's sort of a tagline that we came up with a few years ago as something that is distinctively Pomfret. And so this Dave Murray is a member of the Board of Trustees, and he didn't know that his name was going to be up here. But I think this quote distills fairly nicely what the importance of the students finding their voices in their time at Pomfret and in so many different places. Our mission continues to guide us in everything that we do. Every year, the Board of Trustees reviews the mission. This year, we undertook that process, or started to undertake that process in September. And it started, in the past, the board has simply sort of rubber stamped what our mission was. And this year, with the help of Gwyneth Connell, our new director of the Grauer Institute, we pushed them to think a little bit more. And as they really did a deep evaluation of this, they said, yeah, this is good, but we think it can be better. And so we are in the process, undertaking a process to review our mission, to revise, update, and modernize our mission so that it more carefully or more accurately reflects who we are as an institution. Your mission statement is a statement of the reason you exist. We think this is still pretty good, but we think we can update it to be more reflective of the work that we're doing. Similarly, our vision, and if you've been familiar with the strategic plan, you might recognize the strategic vision, and then underneath it, this is our new toy, by the way, first time I've ever used it. Kind of fun. These are the tenets of the vision of the Pomfret graduate. Our vision remains very much to be that distinguished leader in independent education, though I think as we are looking at our strategic planning process, we will see a second iteration or second version of what our vision is, probably quite similar, but it won't use the same language. You've seen, I hope, this weekend a little bit, you've seen these buttons around. How many of you were able to see a video that was sent out? Couple people, but you are going to, in just a second, see a video again that our good folks in the communications office put together. We undertook a process beginning last year in February with the Board of Trustees. We have as anchoring points for the institution our mission and our vision. We have our the vision of the Pomfret graduate, and we have some learning principles. But the school, though we felt for a long time that people generally had a sense of what was most core, important to our core in terms of values, we had never articulated that in any way. And in conversation with the board chair, I suggested it would be a good idea if we could identify our core institutional values. So the board began the work in February. The faculty picked up the work in June at our end of school year faculty meetings, and then the heads group, that is the senior administrative team, did a great deal of refining work over the summer. And then we got to a pretty good document, and then we handed it to our communications team. And they worked magic with it again. And so we ended up with the values that you see here below. Important, again, values drive, at an organization like Pomfret, or most organizations, values drive decision-making. What is most important to you in terms of your values allows you to ask really good questions about your program and try to move forward based on those values. And so when we were looking, or when we ended up with these values, these three, I was really happy to see where we landed. Because I do, having been here now for almost 9 years, or 8+ years, these are certainly three values that you see manifest in our community on a daily basis. And so I got to try to see if I can make this work.
We care for ourselves, the people around us, and the community in which we live.
We come together to better address challenges
and learn from each other.
We champion diversity and inclusion,
seeking to understand and be understood.
We thrive on creativity,
innovation, and change.
We inspire others with our engagement,
determination, and optimism.
We take calculated risks
and rebound from failure
with renewed energy.
We treat people with respect
and compassion. We speak and act with sincerity,
honesty,
and civility.
We dare to hold ourselves and others accountable to the values of Pomfret School.
Community.
growth,
integrity.
So with the exception of yours truly, I think the video is pretty good. I am never destined to be an actor. But again, I think using the students to articulate what those values look like, and you'll see when you do see the whole value statement, you'll see the three values stated, and then supporting three supporting bullet points for each of those that articulate particularly why these values are particularly attributable, we think, to Pomfret School. You'll also see in the coming future, you were just in the dining hall and you probably did not see those words up there like that because they're not there. But they will be. And if you've been over to the student center, these really nice flags, those banners, and they look really nice, but they're not there yet either. But they will be. The point is that in the same way that we've put our mission statement in every classroom and in every dormitory, we're going to really reinforce visually what our values are. And we're going to make those manifest to everyone when they come on campus in different locations throughout. And again, with gratitude to the communications team for the work that they're doing to really make this a part of our visual culture every single day. Quickly on our community, I don't read slides, I'll let you read slides, and certainly when we move into Q&A, I'm happy to take any questions on this. I am pleased that this year, for the first time, we've reached 20% of our domestic students are students of color. That's a threshold that we've been working toward. We continue to seek diversity in our student body. And so that's a good step for us, and this is not quite accurate. I'm not sure how I allowed that one in there. I think we're at 20 countries and 26 states. But again, the threshold of 20 countries for us is a good threshold. College counseling. How many people got to attend the junior college program this morning? The juniors who were in that the junior parents who were in that program heard a little bit about the development of the 4-year college curriculum, and have people become a little bit aware of the 4-year college curriculum? Yes? At least one person. You're a trustee, though. That's cheating. If you haven't already, I'm not going to go into great detail. We have the terrific brochures that, again, our communications office is getting a lot of props here. Developed a really nice brochure. About 2 years ago, we started thinking or ideating on how we needed to continue to distinguish ourselves with respect to various programs. One of those areas was the college program. We'd been hearing from parents that they wish that we were doing more earlier with their students. And so we set about a process, and with gratitude to Bruce Willannon and his team, they set about crafting a 4-year curriculum for the college process. Very intentionally designed so that the weight is still toward the junior and senior years, but we're doing some really intentional work in the freshman and sophomore years so that when junior year rolls around, some of both the mystery and the fear and the anxiety floating around the topic of the college process has been alleviated. That they understand, they've been on college campuses before. All of our sophomores go and visit college campuses. That they've done some personality inventory work, which all of our freshmen will do. So they start deciding where their interests may lie. Having conversations about early on, and not too focused on college, but what are your passions and where might that start evolving at Pomfret, and how does that translate then to the next level? And so I encourage you can pick up one of the brochures. They're available. We can certainly make those available to you afterwards. But the college office is having a lot more contact points at earlier moments in our Pomfret students' careers, so that by the time they get to be juniors, there's a little less fear. Now, this is a new program that really has started in earnest this year. So this year's juniors, parents, sorry, your kids are going to be anxious because this is all new to them. Next year's junior parents, you should be a little bit better off. And if you're the parent of a freshman, we're really hoping that in 2 years, everyone's going to feel really good about this weekend and not quite so paranoid. So stay tuned on that. This is just an example of one of the pages from the brochure. And each one of the classes in the brochure sort of tracks what's happening during that year for each of the classes. So freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, you can see. And again, the end result here is there. What word is really intentionally planted in there? Fit, right? We're really, and I'm really grateful to you as parents. There's been a sort of a transformation in parent bodies, and it's not just at Pomfret, it's at independent schools largely, where they're understanding more and more the importance of fit and not sort of best college. I want my kid to go to the best college, but the best fit college. And that's every boarding school I know is working on that. And we, with the college counseling team that we have, I think we're doing a really good job of helping our students find that best fit university or college. So, certificate program, and in just a moment, I'm going to ask my friend and colleague Don Gibbs to talk a little bit more about this. We have been examining our curriculum. Certainly have been making some changes to our pedagogy, but we're looking really closely at our curriculum as well, and looking for opportunities to shape a program that uses the first 2 years of a student's experience at Pomfret as foundation, and then the second 2 years, or junior and senior year, as an opportunity for students to explore, to choose their own pathways a little bit more. And, excuse me, 2 years ago, I think, Don and Doug McLeod, who is our curriculum coordinator and a member of the history department, started having some conversations about the certificates program. And so I've asked Don if he'd share a few thoughts on that with you.
Thanks, Tim.
Can you hear me okay? So the certificate program, as Tim suggested, is something we've been imagining for a little while. It comes from an interest in providing for our students an opportunity for voice and choice. We're really proud of the courses that we offer, and we're really excited about their diversity. But we also know that students, and we certainly hope, that students here will develop passions over time, and that as coaches and mentors, we should be able to create pathways for their exploration that may exceed or extend beyond the bounds of our course catalog. And that's what really the certificate program is. Importantly, you can see that the domains that we've decided are not really linked to any of our academic departments. Instead, they are bridging across disciplines. And what we've done here at the school is we've created some tagged courses, some that fit into multiple certificate domains, describing almost like courses in the major. So looking at our foundational elements, our students are getting a smattering of things in social justice and sustainability, in the STEM fields, certainly. We are a very arts-friendly school. They are getting broad exposure there. And so everyone comes through Pomfret with a certain level of foundation and connection to these different disciplines. So then what we've done, much like in a college course catalog, we've identified courses in majors. Elective courses, choices students can make to grab and build a portfolio of experiences in pursuit of a certificate. But the analogy that I like to make, because I was a Boy Scout at one point, is that you can't become an Eagle Scout simply by getting merit badges. You can take lots of courses and you can become a really robust and strong student in these different areas. But the certificate program is requiring students a pursuit, an individual journey, an exploration of their own making. We have fast-tracked our current seniors who are doing a one-year sprint in what is ideally a two-year program for students. Anybody see last night some of the posters that were up? Good, I hope you were impressed. Those kids had the opportunity to talk about what their passions are and what they're doing with them. High school should be transformational. It should give opportunity for voice and choice, extension, and pursuit of passion. And that's what we're hoping the certificate program will do. So these are the first 5 domains. Maybe there will be more over time. And we're really excited about the pioneering spirit of the seniors and the juniors who are currently engaged in the certificate program.
Great, thank you. So the 5 domains, I was thinking when we launched this program that we'd have about 10 or 12 students who would elect this in the first year to pursue this. And you can give me the exact number, but I remember hearing the number 45.
And 19 seniors presented last night.
So 45 students, so some 15% of the student body, and or 12% of the student body, and as Don said, 19 seniors, which is really exciting for us. And we think that as this builds, that those numbers will go up as students see this as an opportunity to really distinguish themselves. And if when I was listening yesterday to our guest from Lafayette College speak to the students, he spent a good amount of time encouraging them to distinguish themselves, to show who they are, what they've done, and then why they've done it. I don't know that we have a program at Pomfret that will allow students to do that more earnestly than the certificates program. So we're trying to broaden our reach off campus as well, and you may have heard or read about some of the things that we're doing with travel courses. You have seen several of these, perhaps, if you've been around. We now offer courses or programs off campus. Lots of schools do that, but not many schools in these short, intense programs grant credit for it. And we have 4 different programs that grant academic credit, and a 5th program that will start next summer in Salamanca, Spain, that will grant credit. Sorry, I'm backwards. It will grant credit as well, and we're working on the conversation, will it grant certificate credit or will it grant academic credit? So 5 different opportunities that students have, and I know that Don presented on this yesterday morning, or yesterday at some point. There were a good number of families who were there, 50 people or so, hearing more about the offerings that we present now to students off campus. The world is, it's an incredibly changing place, and for our students to have experiences that take them out of the Pomfret bubble to broaden their horizons and perspectives is always a good thing. We've established a partnership with a sister school in Costa Rica Last year, we had an exchange. We sent a student to this particular school, and they sent a student back in exchange. We have 2 students who are exploring this for this winter. We think that we'll have 2 students going to Costa Rica this winter, and we will in turn be receiving students from Costa Rica from the Monteverde Friends School to join us for a term. So exciting opportunities. We also have encouraged, we didn't used to encourage, but we are now encouraging students who want to have a different semester or trimester experience to find other opportunities, and they can partner with the school or partner with families and consultants to find off-campus opportunities. We have had students who have been at the, as you can see, at the High Mountain Institute and at the Island School in the Bahamas. We're able to connect curriculum between at least these 2 programs, but there are other programs as well. Again, just reinforcing Pomfret's belief that while we really value the learning and the experience that's happening here, that there's real value too in having that experience off campus. The Wellington Engagement Index, anyone ever heard of it? Faculty members, you can't raise your hand. You heard all about it on Thursday morning. Part of our strategic plan calls on us to measure what matters, In the change processes that we've undertaken, we're getting the question a lot, how do you know it works? What can you do to demonstrate that student learning is improving in this new system? And so I'm going to invite our new director of the Grauer Institute, Gwyneth Connell, to explain to you one tool that we're rolling out this year that we are really excited about that gets to your students and their experience and engagement in the classroom.
Hello. It's very exciting to get to talk about this with all of you. I'm new here at Pomfret this year, and as I have been getting to know the reality of what life is like here and what our students are experiencing, it's only increased my hunch that Pomfret does a better job of setting the conditions for engagement than any other school like us. I really think that we do this better than anybody. And so I think this is going to be a really cool opportunity for us to prove it, and if I'm wrong, to work on it and do better. So what is student engagement? Katie Forrestal and I did a little experiment a couple of weeks ago when we were on Saturday night duty in the Tuck. And we cornered a couple kids as they were walking past and we said, hey, are you engaged in your learning? And yeah, you can imagine their response. They go, yeah, totally are. And what I really love about this tool is that it's broken down this kind of abstract idea of student engagement into 2 really easy questions. To what extent do you love your classes or hate your classes? That's real language that kids use to talk about their school experience. And to what extent is this class not challenging or very challenging? They know the answers to those 2 questions, and by plotting them on an XY axis, we can get a sense of what their experience is like in their courses. Obviously, we want them all to be engaged. We also know that some of them are going to have to grind through some grindy experiences. We know that this level of engagement happens at the intersection of student and teacher and subject. How many of you in the room, for instance, have some feelings about math class? Right? And you bring those feelings about math class, or fill in the blank, whatever class might have been that class for you in high school, you bring that with you. And so what excites me about this is not that I think it's going to be some kind of answer finder for us, but I think it's going to be an amazing question finder. We are going to collect this data from our students for the first time on November 5th. Then we're going to do it twice in the winter term and twice in the spring term. So we're not just going to do it once. We're going to get longitudinal data over the course of the year. Then we're going to keep doing it in the years to come. And so then we're going to find out, how do kids evolve over time? How do certain cohorts of students, is the class of 2020 somehow different in their level of engagement from the class of 2021? How will we know? And so I think it's going to be really great information that we can use to tweak things and to conduct some experiments in pursuit of student engagement on a teacher-by-teacher level and also on an institutional level. I can go on for quite some time about this. Happy to answer any questions afterwards, but very excited about using this tool with our kids this year.
One of the things that we're going to be looking at is whether there's a correlation between challenging and loving, right? And as you tweak the challenge level, students' immediate response may be, if it gets harder, I'm going to like it less. Well, actually, data that we've seen from other schools suggests that it's possible that as you increase challenge, students like it more. And so we'll be able to play with these things, with these different variables, these factors, in ways to try to consistently enhance student engagement. It will also be a tool that we can use to identify students who are struggling. And if you have a student who has 3 or 4 dots down here from 3 or 4 of her or his classes, that's going to be helpful for us in identifying a student who's maybe raising their hand and saying, I need some help. Not that we won't have seen it perhaps before, but a student who identifies 4 courses as unchallenging and boring is telling us something. So we will hopefully use this data in all sorts of constructive ways to shape how we support students, how we inform pedagogy and curriculum, and how we draw student learning in and increase its efficacy. I talked about this a little bit last year. Was anyone here last year to hear about the Mastery Transcript Consortium? I see a couple of hands. There are some hands. So, and again, I'm going to invite some combination of Gwyneth and Don to talk a little bit more about this. The Mastery Transcript Consortium, is the brainchild of a head of school named Scott Looney at the Hawkins School, who several years ago had something of an epiphany after many years of being in education, that the transcript that his school was sending to colleges was not telling a very thorough story of the types of learners or people that they were sending to college, right? They were sending a transcript that had a bunch of letter grades and a test score or 2, and maybe a list of extracurricular activities. But it wasn't really informing college admission officers of the type of learner and the type of engaged citizen of a school that this individual was. And so he said, okay, I have this idea. And he started collecting colleagues from various schools. And it started off as a very small cohort of about 5 schools. And today it's about 340 or right around 340 schools who have joined in this consortium to really look at creating some degree of upheaval in the college transcript, the transcript that Pomfret and other schools send to colleges. This includes, some of the big boys, as we call them, in the boarding school world, Andover and Exeter and Milton Academy and Miss Porter's and Episcopal High School, Pomfret, a whole bunch of leading independent schools and a good number of day schools are involved in this effort to rethink how we can share better information with colleges than we're sharing now. And so I'll, again, going to punt over to Gwyneth and Don to perhaps expand just for a moment on that. And they've been, Don and Gwyneth, along with Bruce Willannon and Doug McLeod, went to the Mastery Transcript Consortium site directors meeting, a 2 or 3 day conference in September, to get the sort of the latest information on what's happening with what we call MTC. So.
Sure. One of the things that I'm really excited about with regard to this work is that no matter what ends up happening with Pomfret School's transcript, this is a really important conversation for us to be having as a school. The mastery credits that are described on what Tim's showing you here, they fall into, similar to our certificate program, they don't fall into traditional departmental categories. This is an example from the Wava School in California.
How many of you can read this?
No.
Yeah, So just to give you a quick sense, social and emotional acuity, citizenship and decision-making, communication and self-expression, problem-solving and critical analysis, and quantitative, technical, and scientific literacy, or fluency.
Yeah, and there's a sixth one that's historical and cultural fluency as well. Artistic, historical, and cultural fluency. And so what this means for us is that we really have this opportunity to look at our curriculum as a whole and make some collective decisions about what do we want to promise every Pomfret student that their diploma means. And those will provide us with a sense of what our foundational mastery credits are. Those are our graduation requirements. Right now, our graduation requirements line up with time in certain courses, right? So 4 years of English, 3 years of math, et cetera. You know what the graduation requirements are. But trying to infuse those with a little more meaning around what we want kids to be getting out of those. And then once they've completed that foundation, giving them some choice and voice around where to extend that experience. And those become your advanced mastery credits. Not just what does every Pomfret diploma mean, but what's the range of possibilities for what a Pomfret diploma could mean. So those are conversations that are really exciting and really important for us as a school to be having, no matter what ends up happening with grades, transcripts, et cetera, down the line.
And I'll add that it's our ambition that students should be able to distinguish themselves here and identify their unique pathway and program. We do not want to be a cookie-cutter school. And even though there is some pressure out there for highly selected schools and highly prized and sought-after courses here, taking a step back and saying, and what will those courses do to imbue the graduate with enduring skills and understandings? That's some of the work that this is pushing us to consider. It's very important as a school to find out if understanding the world through mathematical modeling, numbers, data assessment is only happening in one small sector of the student experience, or if it actually is happening and filtering across disciplines as a skill that can be seen as interdisciplinary. That's really important work for us because we know too that our students tend to see and hold on to skills based on where they discovered them. And they see them not as universal tools, but as very specific tools, maybe only applicable to where they were first introduced. Being able to do that for our students and our school and understand our shared responsibility across these broader domains, no matter what kind of course that you offer, will make the experience for students richer. It'll make our work more collaborative and more joyful, and I think it will lead us another step closer to achieving the vision of the graduate, which we've described as targets for each of our kids.
I think also the unique opportunity of a boarding school in a system like this, I mean, we know how much your children are learning on their playing fields, in the dorm, in all these co-curricular experiences that we have the opportunity to provide in the 24-hour day that a boarding school has at its disposal. And so what if their transcript, think about a category like citizenship and decision-making. What if their leadership as a team captain was something that they could reflect on and submit as evidence of learning in order to earn a mastery credit for their transcript? When we think about the possibilities that could be provided if something beyond the 8:30 to 3:30 academic day could really be encapsulated and reflected in what goes off to colleges, I think the power of the boarding school experience could be that much more effectively communicated to the next level.
The last piece I'll add is that when this is achieved, if we can get there, the model here is not only to show mastery credits and how you decided to spend your time and energy, but also to give students some voice and choice to send along artifacts as exhibitions of excellence in these different domains. And so empowering students to live beyond the flat page and in some 3 dimensions, we think will serve our kids well too.
Raise your hand if you have a student who was here last year. Okay, so all of your students already have some form of a mastery element on their transcript, and that emerged from Project Pomfret this year, and it will be part of our Project Pomfret again this year. Using that as a beta testing area for us and how to think about the ideas behind mastery assessment rather than grades-based assessment. Thank you both. And we'll have time for questions, I hope, at the end. This weekend, we were supposed to have launched our campaign publicly to you all. Woohoo! That's not happening. You all, I think, heard from me earlier this year that our former director of advancement tendered her resignation right after our beautiful 125th ceremony last year. She has a new professional opportunity, and we wish her well. Vassar Peirce, who's sitting down to my right, has been doing a fantastic job of managing the office since then, as we continue to move toward these institutional priorities. And so this is kind of still a tease that's a little bit away. We're in the process of looking for a full-time director for Director of Advancement. I'll talk about that in just a minute, to continue to help us to push toward these major initiatives. And certainly we've had some great success. We've already accomplished this, and we've accomplished this. In some ways, I wish I could just use a pointer. But we still have some work to do. Every year we'll be focusing on the Pomfret Fund. And again, I made my appeal last night, so thank you for that. But then that leaves sort of these these big buckets of the Monell Science Building, that spectacularly beautiful building to my left, built in 1958, seemingly to scare everyone away. I said to some parents earlier, I think it's the least welcoming academic building I've ever seen. I mean, it's a big brick wall with 2 little doors. It's like, we don't really want you here. Obviously, what's happening in that facility is extraordinary, but we've developed a vision statement for the new Monell, and we're working on a white paper. Our program is now absolutely bursting at the seams, and we need a new facility to allow us to continue those developments. And then certainly the 2 anchoring points of the campaign are both endowment opportunities to endow faculty compensation and professional development, and then to endow financial aid. But the new director, and Vassar has not put his name in for some very good reasons for himself as the director, which is in a real way very, very much too bad for us, because he is doing such a good job. We will hire a new director. We have 3 finalists coming to campus next week. We have been working with a consultancy, an individual named John Watson, who works for Educational Directions. We did Zoom interviews with 8 semifinalists last week, and we have 3 finalists who will come to campus next week. All 3 are sitting directors of advancement at independent schools. All of them have been at boarding schools. And one of them is even an alumnus of Pomfret, which is nice. So we're hoping that the offer is made before I get on a plane to Asia a week from Wednesday. And hopefully I'll have an affirmative back from that offer before I get on a plane. That would make me relax a little bit on the 14-hour flight to Seoul. So that's one of our search processes. We are involved in 4, we just completed 1 senior administrative search. Rich Dempsey was here. He had to leave. Rich, some of you have heard, has been named the head of school at Detroit Country Day School, a really outstanding school just outside of Detroit, Michigan, and he and his family are going to be moving out there to take over next July. I am taking Rich's responsibilities and subdividing them into 2 roles. Rich has been working at a sort of a superhuman level for 3 years, and I was disinclined to saddle that same level of responsibility on anyone else. It is really taxing. He's really doing 2 full-time jobs, both as Dean of Faculty and as Assistant Head of School. I did name Martha Horst earlier this week as our new Dean of Faculty. Martha is a longtime Pomfret faculty member. She's been here for 21 or 22 years, and she emerged from a very competitive pool of 4 internal candidates, and she'll be our Dean of Faculty. We're doing an Assistant Head of School search that will, the next phase of which will be, again, Zoom interviews in November. We'll have 3 or potentially 4 candidates to campus in December, and we hope to name an assistant head before the winter break. And then, as I mentioned, so that should be done. And then the 4th process that we will undertake once we've completed the other 3 are for our new, this says Director of DEI. It's actually going to be a Dean of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, elevating that position. That will be a senior administrative level position who will sit on the search group. We are, on the heads group, we are running those searches, or this search, the DEI search, internally. In the same way we're running the assistant head search internally. We did receive, for the assistant head search, we've received now I think 52 completed applications, which is pretty impressive. So that's what I have. Look at that. 2 o'clock, as promised, even between 2 ferns.